It is absolutely killing me waiting in anticipation to see what this team is going to look like and see if all of this is going to pay off or not. And I think a really good way to end, Matt, really quick, would be to go through Douglas specifically. And we've gone through all these other guys, but let's do a quick little recap over Douglas and really lay out what he's done and view it all as a whole and try and see why that hasn't resulted in the wins that we think it maybe should have. So we go to year one. He's got Adam Gase. He's going into year 3 of Sam Darnold. Year 2, they go 7-9 under Gase. Darnold has mono to start the year, plays better than he did as a rookie overall, but maybe not better at his best. I would say peak Darnold throughout his pro career has been his last 4 weeks of his rookie season. And overall in 2019, there was some sparks of success, but it wasn't necessarily consistent enough to give people worries. But a lot of issues were on the offensive line. And it was very hard for their offense to succeed. So they add Mekhi Becton, they add George Fant, they add Connor McGovern. Douglas has his plan to attack the offensive line. Believe they added Jamison Crowder that year as well and try and add some weapons. They draft Denzel Mims. There was a plan in place, and Joe Douglas said it himself in protection and playmakers. He tried to execute it. It didn't work, I think, because some of those players were wondering if they're still going to be on the team now in a couple of years, showing that just because you did the right move doesn't mean that it's going to work out. And Adam Gase got in the way a lot. So I think if you look at that first year for Joe Douglas, not necessarily counting the draft, because I do think he had a lot of hands in the draft, but I almost want to call it a wash because the Gase situation and the Darnold situation basically just made it a moot point.
It really did. I don't really like attributing 2019 to Douglas since he was hired in June 2019?
I believe it was the start of June.
So, I mean, that team really wasn't his team. He was kind of just there and really just building towards the draft at that point. But yeah, he really didn't get a chance to really put his stamp on this team until even after Gase was gone, even though he had control in 2020. It wasn't until he had somebody that shared that vision with him, Saleh, able to really feed into exactly what Douglas wants to do. I don't think either one would say the other really influenced them to pick something. I feel like they've just been in lockstep this entire time, and it shows. And we've yet to really see anything. And that 2020 draft really hasn't been that great when you look back at it.
No, it hasn't.
It has not been great at all. But at the same time, there's still a lot of potential there. I feel like have only cracked the surface of Bryce Hall at cornerback. Back then, we've still haven't cracked the surface of what he's capable of either. Mims, who knows? Maybe this is the year he finally puts it all together. It might not be on our team, but maybe he puts it all together. Ashton Davis, a safety that also had we all had high hopes for, that hasn't really turned it on. Maybe this is the year for him. There's so much talent that hasn't been realized yet, and it may never be realized, and that's the scary part. And that if 2020 is a wash season, then it's worrisome, just because we kind of need that talent. Yeah, we had a great offseason this year, but at the same time, wasting an entire draft, it sets you back. It's not just like, oh well, we can just go forward with what we have. A draft like that, where you have, how many picks was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 picks, and if none of them work out, that's a travesty right there.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I think this is an important point to make. And I think you're already making it. I just think I could maybe phrase it in a different way.
Please.
When you mess up a draft, it doesn't just it's not kind of like that didn't work out, we're in the same place we were before. You're not. You're behind. It puts you further behind than you were before, because the Jets now, assuming this 2020 draft class doesn't work out, are going to need a new starting tackle next year. And the whole point was fix the offensive line, draft Mekhi Becton to be the tackle of the future. That was Joe Douglas's first ever draft pick. If you're going back and having to do that again, if the team is now more improved, you might be more out of range. of getting one of those top tackles. You might have to spend more in free agency because that's the only thing that's going to be available to you. Your options are different than what they were when you were in that position, however many years prior, with that same need. The Jets were in a position in 2020 to land Mekhi Becton at 11 overall. They were in a position with Jacksonville. They had a trade set up to get to 9 to take Jedrick Wills if they were worried that somebody, or Becton, if they were worried if somebody else was going to be off the board and they weren't going to have their option at tackle. For all we know, they won't have the freedom or the flexibility or the financial or cap space or anything else if they have other moves that are successful to go up and solve that problem as easily. And so I don't think this is a situation where you can look at an entire draft class basically giving you nothing and say that it doesn't put you back in a lot of areas. It's not just well, we didn't get anything from that, and so it's like it's a zero. No, it's a negative.
Yeah, it's all a domino effect. It affects everything going forward.
Yeah, it really does. And you look at going forward, that's when you start to see things look different. And once Robert Saleh got in that building and they looked at what they needed to do, they attacked it. They add Corey Davis because they knew they needed help on offense. We're hoping to see improvement from him, but that was a smart signing for a guy that fit the scheme that they were trying to run, that an all thought process would be the type of guy they're looking for on offense. They make the decision to move on from Sam Darnold. They say, we're going to be in lockstep. We're going to start over. We're going to reset and build this in our image and our vision from the ground up. We're not going to leave too many holdovers from what we did prior because we need everything to be done in our image. And that's what they did. And it started with the quarterback, like we've said so much recording this, that they knew they had to get their guy and they weren't sold on Darnold. Joe Douglas didn't draft Sam Darnold. Joe Douglas didn't put his hand in the pot and say, this is the guy I'm hitching my wagon to and putting my career on. He didn't want to put his career on Sam Darnold any longer. And he fell in love with the talent of Zach Wilson to make him think that that was going to be the best thing to do. Well, it turned out Robert Saleh felt the same thing. That's a vision. That's a plan. They make that decision. They trade Sam Darnold. They take Zach Wilson and immediately start trying to support him. They trade up to get Elijah Vera Tucker. They make sure they draft Elijah Moore. They take Michael Carter in the 4th round. Bang, bang, bang. 3 in a row. Here's protection and here's 2 playmakers. Now let's look at this next year. We've gone through the rookie season. Zach Wilson played okay in spurts, had some great moments towards the end. We're all hopeful and confident. They went overboard giving him weapons. They went overboard supporting him this offseason. It's just like what the Buffalo Bills did in Josh Allen's second year, where they had offensive line help in Laken Tomlinson. You're supposedly getting Mekhi Becton back and healthy, and hopefully that's going to be a big help, assuming that that is the case. If not, we already discussed how that's going to go. You add a new receiver in Garrett Wilson. You re-sign Braxton Berrios. You draft Breece Hall to be another explosive running back. You sign 2 tight ends and draft another one. What more do you want to support your second-year quarterback? This is the vision. And based on the vision, you can't ask for anything else. So going off these 2 years, it's really hard to judge off 1 year of rookies where we haven't seen their year 2 yet and rookie players that we haven't seen play yet. But what we've seen is that there is a clear vision in place between Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas. And we're starting to see through flashes results on the field a little bit. We've seen I can't remember the last time the Jets had 4 wins and people were this excited for them.
Right. Yeah. It is not much that we've seen in the win column, but at the same time, I've never looked at an offensive depth chart and been like, wow, we have no holes really right now.
Where's the problem?
We have no position where we're like, well, we still need a starter here. No, every single starting position on that offense is filled and has depth. There isn't a single position that I can look at other than tackle, maybe. Actually, no, definitely tackle, where I can be like, all right, we're good. And even if somebody gets hurt, we're still good. Tackle is pretty much the only spot I still expect us to bring somebody else in. And they've even put out feelers for another tackle. So they see what we see as well. And just knowing that is comforting.
You just said what I've been trying to say through this whole podcast, is that they see what we see, and that we like to think that we know the game, and we like to think that we can be aware and invested as we are to understand the issues and what needs to be done to make this team better. And it seems like the people in place and the people making the decisions have those same ideas. So I'm overall, if I had to put a grade on Joe Douglas and I had to throw it in with this is what we're doing, and I'm stamping down and over his first 3 years as a general manager, what am I giving him? I am giving him a B.
Yeah.
And the reason I am giving him a B is because from a plan angle, I can't ask for more, but it hasn't resulted in wins yet for me to say it's an A. And I can't give a GM an A with 13 wins in 3 years.
No, you just can't.
You just can't.
It's just so much that hasn't been realized yet that it's impossible to really go full throttle. Joe Douglas is a god, because we need.
I can't do that yet.
We need to see it work out.
Absolutely, we need to see it work out, and I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. I don't think there's anything wrong with being realistic about that. And to be quite honest, I think if you asked Joe Douglas, I think he'd be a harsher critic than we are.
Oh,
how would he grade his own tenure? He'd go, "We've 13 wins in 3 years. We went 4-13 last year. We were 32nd ranked defense. Our offense was 29th. We weren't good enough." I don't think he's satisfied with his performance. And I think that's even more fuel as to why he tries so hard. And we saw him try so hard this offseason, where it was, we don't care. We'll trade up multiple times. We're going to go get the players that we want, that know that we're confident that are going to make us win. We're going to sign free agents and spend a lot of money, the second most money of any team, to go and get guys to improve our roster. We'll be in on Tyreek Hill because we have the flexibility and draft capital to do it. When that doesn't work out, okay, we'll trade up twice in the top 40. Joe Douglas has his plan, and he knows that this offseason is basically put up or shut up for him.